Welcome to Wednesday Walks Together. My name is Mark Long, rector of the parish of St Andrew in Newlands, Cape Town. Today I'd like to share with you a verse from Luke chapter 24, verse 32, and I suspect you will recognize the context. They said to each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he was talking to us on the road, while he was opening the scriptures to us?" Now that, of course, is Cleopas and his friend reflecting on the conversation that they had with Jesus on the road from Jerusalem through to Emmaus. For me, what is critical to this verse is the sense of passion that that conversation engendered within them. And as they reflect back on having recognized Jesus in the breaking of the bread in the evening meal, they obviously then think back over the course of the conversation and the journey, and they recognize that, in fact, they had recognized Jesus earlier than the meal itself. Recognized him through just the sense of deep inspiration that they received in the conversation they had shared. And that conversation had obviously, the passage is quite clear that Jesus is opening the scriptures to them and helping them to understand something of what has been happening in their lives and in Jerusalem over the last while. And in hearing and understanding, they are reinvigorated. There's a new sense of just life that they recognize in that. And it's something that will inspire them for time to come. The immediate reaction that they have is to rush back to Jerusalem and to share their experience with the other disciples. But I share this verse in just reflecting on our need, or my need, to find inspiration in these days. We've been through an extensive period of lockdown in coping with this virus. Life has got a little easier along the way, but there's still fears that we deal with and anxieties. The virus doesn't know we're on level 1. It's still being the virus. And we need to hold a lot of that still at this time. And so one begins to look around and in wanting some hope, one explores perhaps the media, social media and other. And there's perhaps not always a lot there to inspire us. I woke up this morning to reminders on my phone that the first debate had happened between Biden and Trump. And certainly from all I can pick up in the news reports, there was absolutely nothing inspirational in the conversation that they had with each other, or sounds like more over each other. One would hope that those that we respect as world leaders, or potential world leaders, would be ones who could inspire us. And I think in the past there have been leaders who've been able to do that. But certainly the Biden-Trump interaction is nothing to inspire. If anything, it's something to depress. In our South African context, we look at our own leadership. And I was reading another report today, I think it was the Mail and Guardian, reflecting on comparing Zuma and Ramaphosa's leadership, and saying that despite the hope that we've had in Ramaphosa, actually life in South Africa, if anything, is worse than it was in the Zuma years. Largely just because all that happened in that decade, the chickens are coming home to roost, as it were. But helpfully that article actually said, it's not about comparing Zuma and Ramaphosa. It's about recognizing that the structures of democracy in South Africa and the interaction with capitalism actually all leads to where we find ourselves. Not to say that that our leaders shouldn't be accountable, and not to say that where our governing party isn't a deep part of the problem, but that the picture is wider than just individuals. And I find that helpful because it asks us, or asks me, to think a little bit more broadly, to look beyond some of the boundaries I would happily lay down in trying to simplify my understanding of the context in which we, certainly in South Africa, and at this time more broadly in the global context that we live in. And so if we're not finding inspiration in our leaders, where do we find that inspiration? And again, for people of faith over the centuries, we have found that inspiration in a relationship with God. And for us in the Christian faith, the Jewish Old Testament, what we call the Old Testament, the Jewish scriptures, and the New Testament scriptures have been and continue to be a real source of that inspiration. What intrigues me about this brief verse that I shared with you from Luke 24 is that it's a reflection on an immersion in the Old Testament scriptures, in fact. As Christians, too often, I think we just focus on the New Testament for inspiration. But there's a huge amount of it in the Old Testament, and so much of what's in the New Testament is built on what's in the Old Testament. And so we need to hold both testaments in our awareness, and they need to both be part of our reflections and personal times of drawing aside to read Scripture and to pray. So my question perhaps to you at the moment is what inspires you right now? And if you're struggling to find something within your context, within the context of your life and the social environment you find yourself in, what's exciting you about God? What's exciting you about what you find in Scripture? How is your time of conversation in prayer and meditation, in reflection, how is that inspiring you? And what is it that the Spirit of God is igniting within you? Perhaps it's not something you're particularly aware of, but maybe just taking a bit of time to look back over the last day, the last week, the last month, even the last year. What have been the themes that have been coming through as you've read scriptures, you've listened to scripture read, as you've heard others preach on it? What are some of the things that have caught your attention and that your mind has dwelt on for a while? Part of that is the inspiration that God seeks to build into our hearts and lives. And it's part of our relational journey with God. And ultimately, of course, it's part of our relational journey with ourselves and with others. Because as we receive from God, as we're inspired by the Spirit, so we ourselves become inspiring and creative in our own relationships and our own interaction with the world and society we're part of. So we've all been on a journey. Cleopas and his companion had been on a journey from Jerusalem to Emmaus with Jesus. You and I have been on a journey with life, with God. It's a long journey, it's a lifetime journey, but it's also shorter journeys within the broader journey. And in each one, the Spirit of God we trust is always present. And so there is always opportunity for inspiration. And so if you're feeling a bit down, offer that to God. And invite the Spirit of God just to awaken you to what has been inspiring, particularly in terms of Scripture and in terms of thinking about how that applies to daily life, daily relationship, daily existence. And so may that broader walk be something that touches on today's Wednesday walk. And may we be newly inspired. May we be renewed in the journey that we walk together.